I got that lead from Zillow in 2016 and it's being nurtured for me. And now they're ready to transact and I've done a good job. And I always use my realtor as an example here. So I bought a home in this home living in call it 2010. And, we're 12 years in. So I've bought a couple of other properties outside this one and I've done my thing, but that real estate agent never interacted with me whatsoever. I never got an email from him. I never get a text message from him with relevant information about my market or markets that I might be interested in buying a rental property. All I got from him is a calendar every Christmas. I said, oh, yeah, it's on the wall by our, washing machine, but I'll never do business with that guy again. Right? I'm looking for someone who's going to provide me with the information that I need to make a strong decision.
Hello and welcome to the Agent Podcast with your host, that's me, Raymond Sjolseth. Let's dive in. This episode is sponsored by Inspired Title Group, nationally recognized in 48 states across the U.S., where a portion of each closing goes to charity. Give them a call on your next deal. They'll close anywhere. They're remote. Visit inspired-title.com. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Agent Podcast. Today I'm here with my buddy Stuart. Stuart, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Raymond. I'm super happy to be here and talking all things real estate.
Stuart, why real estate?
So that's a good story for sure from my perspective. So I've been in CRM and database sales for the last 25 years. And I had an opportunity in 2011. I had actually sold Move, a software product. And when they were looking for a new director of sales for the top producer brand, they approached me and I jumped in, took a leap of faith, started working for Move or Realtor.com. And I fell in love with the industry. Honestly, you got great people. You've got lots of opportunity to grow your career. But the whole concept of real estate for me really is interesting because it is a builder of wealth. So for myself, I have learned incredible amounts to the point where I've actually bought properties, sold properties. I have a couple of, rental properties. And my personal dream is to actually have a property on a beautiful lake here in British Columbia, where I spend the majority of my time.
I love it. So Stuart, let's talk about what you do. You're with Chime.
I am the vice president of industry development with Chime, which means I'm the guy that's out there as the face of the company, promoting the company at real estate events, meeting with large franchises to really expand what Chime does. Now, if you're not familiar with Chime, it is a full real estate technology stack, starting with IDX website, CRM, long-term follow-up, email marketing, text marketing, social media marketing, back-end transaction management. We have a killer CMA product. So when you think about the structure of a regular brokerage that are using somewhere between 12 and 15 different technologies to do each piece of that, we're trying to do it all in one. Now, the pieces that we do exceptionally well, we're really good at, but then the ones we're not, we go and integrate with other people. So for instance, if you look at lead generations, we have a direct integration with Realtor.com, with Zillow, with Homes.com, and then we have 55 other lead vendors that we work with to get your leads into the system so we can start that long-term conversion and maturing those people to make sure that they do business with you. And if it's not today, it's sometime within the next 6 to 7 years or the cycle of buying real estate. So, people often in real estate talk about the top of funnel. I believe that, yeah, sure, you do have to have leads coming into the system and you have to have a plan and goals set around that. But ultimately, you have to worry about your database long-term, because each one of those individuals costs money to get into a database and it costs money to nurture them. But long-term, you want to make sure that you're converting more customers than you're losing. So that's really what Chime is all about, converting people to the best of our ability.
Stuart, how did you end up at Chime?
Good story. So when I left Realtor.com, I started my own company called Modern Agent, which was a social media app to help real estate agents with content and postings on a regular basis with Facebook and Instagram. And we've been gobbled up by Chime. And I took on that role because one of the things, so Chime is an amazing technology. I got to be honest with you. When I look at real estate, and I've been doing this now for close to 15 years, The technology is fantastic. Where we've kind of failed a little bit is building the brand. And so what I'm doing is I'm out there building the brand on behalf of the company. And that's really starting to come to fruition now with some, we were talking before about some of the large partnerships that we're building. And, we have relationships with Keller Williams. We have relationships with Remax, Exit Realty, The Real Broker, EXP. So, whether you're a real estate agent or a broker at any of those brands, we're out there ready to help you get to the next level. And that's just from basic CRM right through recruiting, which is so important in today's day and age when, the agent count is dropping. So you've got to replace agents, and hopefully you're replacing them with better agents.
Stuart, what do you think some misconceptions are out there around CRMs and quote unquote systems?
Yeah. So one of the things I used to hear all the time, like when I was listening to calls, I had a sales team of 50 people at Top Producer. The frustrations around getting set up properly, it's too complicated to use. The reality is today, with all the AI that's built in, is that these systems now should be taking a lot of the heavy liftings off an agent's shoulder. And I think a lot of the perception out there is that they are complicated and they are cost prohibitive in some ways. But the reality is if you're using a CRM system or a full platform properly, it's going to help your business. So for instance, I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine who uses Chime. They have around 10,000 people in their database. There's no way as a real estate agent, you're going to be able to pick up the phone 10,000 times in a year and talk to each one of those people. So what you need to do is have your system be reaching out to those people with relevant information about whether it's your marketplace, something that's going on with interest rates, the market in general. And it's not just about listing properties or anything like that. But when you're having that initial listing presentation, you should be taking notes about someone's plans for the future. And whether that's like I said, I want to have a beautiful property on a lake, or I want to get into the rental property business, you should be sending information that's relevant to that conversation. And you can do that through a really good system. Now, as you're trying to grow your business, you should also have the capability to not only mass email, but also mass text intertwined with your social media. So that message is consistent across the board. Once you're set up properly with a system, then you can start expanding. So one of the things I love, because I come from social media, is, for instance, using your past customers to write a really good testimonial for you, and using that to promote your business and getting people to share your social media posts. You shouldn't have a fear as a realtor to ask a past customer if they've had a good experience to promote you on social media, because they're watching it, 100%. So, overall, I think it's a fear of technology, but really in this day and age, you've got to embrace it and grow with it. So as new features and functions come out, like look at the latest thing, right? Chat GPT. You could ask Chat GPT to write a listing description of a specific property and it'll bang one out, no problem. And that's just an example of, these past fears of, oh my God, how do I do this? And what do I do different for this specific property? There's all this technology that needs to be, let's call it, enveloped by the real estate industry and embraced, so we can do a better job, not only promoting our own brand as a real estate agent or broker, because Raymond, it's super competitive, right? You've been in the industry a while. So you need to understand that this technology is here to help you, right? We're not just there to collect, X amount of dollars per month. We want to make sure that ROI is realized. And sorry, that was a bit long-winded, but I'm a little passionate about it.
That's okay. I see it all the time where agents are asking a million people in Facebook groups, what CRM do you use? Which one is best? Oh, that's expensive, yada, yada, yada. And ultimately they make a choice, but then they never use it, right? They mistake iCloud or, Outlook for their contact
Gmail.
management system. Yeah. And how do you get somebody to actually take the time and set up their CRM? Because it is a process, right? You don't just turn it on. It is a process to set it up. Step one is setting up the basic functions and features personalized to you. Step two, upload your contacts. Step three, start a nurture sequence, right? Step four, Get some templates set up for broadcast, kind of impromptu listings, currently on market, whatever. but nobody wants to do that work. I see it all the time. They either don't want to, don't know how, are overwhelmed, are afraid, are in a hurry to get the next deal. So they're not thinking long term. Can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, I can. And honestly, if I look at CRM and I go back 20 years, right? So let's look at some stats, first of all. So in 2005, there was 6 million homes sold in North America, and those homes generated 6 million leads, which basically means one lead per home, right? As we've advanced technology and the consumer has become much more aware of what's going on in the real estate market, not only COVID was incredible as an education for the average consumer, but the 10 years leading up to COVID, where people were embracing sites like Zillow, sites like Trulia, sites like Realtor.com to find out more information about certain properties. In 2019, there was still 6 million homes sold in North America, and those 6 million homes generated 110 million leads. So what that tells me is the consumer has become much more educated. And as the consumer becomes much more educated, guess what? The real estate agent, real estate broker has to also keep up with those industry trends and what's going on with the consumer. So as you are fearful about getting that technology set up, the consumer is on your website, browsing, looking for information that because you're not set up properly, they're not getting the right experience from a particular website. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but that's definitely one of the places where it starts because everybody's using Google. They're putting in realtor names. They're asking, send me a realtor from Austin, Texas, all kinds of stuff. So sorry, again, it's a long-winded answer, but this is where the technology really jumps in because, and I'll use my friend as my friend again as an example. He's an avid hockey player. So he's on the ice 3 or 4 times a week. And each one of those sessions is somewhere between an hour and a half and two hours. So in that time, he's getting text messages from potential customers who are on his website. He's using the AI technology to answer that person immediately and starting to have that conversation. So they're not missing out because it's all time to lead, right? So if someone's on your website, you need to be engaging with them within the first, I say 2 minutes, but people will say 5 minutes, right? Otherwise, you've got 4 other realtors in the Austin area that are picking up the phone or sending a text message or doing all that stuff. And if you're not doing that, so if you're not taking the time, and yeah, you know what? It is going to take somewhere between 2 and 4 hours to set up a system to get it to start to work for you. But once you get it to start working and you're seeing the results, most real estate agents are willing to jump in a little deeper. Then they start setting up their email campaigns. Their social media is linked directly to the product. So again, you're now getting a full sphere. Now, the fear of that time, and again, I hear this story all the time, is that, oh, I don't have enough time in my day. I'm in my car all the time. But the reality is you've got those hours before business and you've got those hours after business when most CRM companies are willing to work with you to get set up properly. Now, where we've failed as an industry is not making sure that those commitments are met from a training online, where someone can download a tutorial on how to get set up properly, using thought leadership to help people understand the concept of long-term follow-up, long-term nurturing, as well as that top of funnel side of things. So it's crucial if you're going to spend money on a CRM, if you're going to take the time to evaluate CRM, and I would, in this day and age, I would only probably evaluate 3 or 4 because they're just moving so much faster than the others. Once you've evaluated, you've made your choice, make that commitment to guarantee that you've got everything set up. And like you said, the first couple of steps are super easy. Getting your data in, getting, your original website linked to your CRM. That's easy stuff. It takes very little time, but then dedicate yourself, an hour or 2 per week where you're learning about the system and growing with it. So maybe you just start with the AI and the nurturing. And then a month later, you add the email campaigns. A month after that, you add the text message campaigns. A month after that, you go down the social media path because all of these things are going to be crucial to business long term. If you want to survive as a realtor, and we'll call these tough times, interest rates are rising, low inventory, and we don't know how long that's going to last. So you want to make sure you're getting to at least invited to the party for most of your listings, right? So if you're not building your brand, and building your brand isn't a bus bench on the side of the road or a sign in front of your current listings, it's being out in the marketplace and understanding what's going on in your local marketplace, understanding the pricing, what's happening with where people can get the best broker to give them the best long-term mortgage rate, or getting involved heavily in the community where your brand is then known.
I love that. So much wealth there. Stuart, what are some things that differentiates Chime specifically from other CRMs out there that are important that agents know that they may not find by going to the website, right? Because I'll be honest, if I go to the website, right, and I start poking around products and all that stuff, if I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, where do I start? What's next, right? So what are some of the things that are different that could
Yeah,
really help?
it's a great question. It's a fantastic question. So the first thing I would say is we are truly a full system. So we start with IDX website, right? So if you subscribe to Chime, you get the full system. Start with the IDX website, which is your main place where you're going to find leads if you're not buying leads from a third party, which funnels all that information into the CRM. In the meantime, you've got the AI part of it. That's exactly spending time with those individuals when you're not available to make sure that they remain interested until you can pick up the phone or text them or do however you want to do. Our system is all built off Google learning, Google machine learning. So the system learns off your habits and the way you do business. So once you start engaging with the system, it's going to start behaving like you and responding like you. The worst thing I see realtors doing is when they don't set up a system properly is they've got, we call our AI bot Anna. So Anna is responding, if you don't set it up, to say, hey, this is Raymond. What could I do for you today? Oh, you're looking for a property in South Chicago? Let me find that for you. Let me give you some ideas. Here are 3 properties that'll do that. The AI will do all that for you today. That is a huge differentiator from most of the CRM systems that are out there. Most important thing is that long-term follow-up. So again, if you've got a ton of people in your database, let the AI take over and nurture those people. And when they're ready to transact, you can actually jump in and start working those people like you would any other listing. It gives you an advantage over the competitor who is trying to pick up the phone 10,000 times a year. It just doesn't happen. And then when you think about moving through that funnel, email marketing, text message marketing, social media, building your brand out, we're going to help you do all that. As an organization, we're kind of dedicated to that. Now, I'm going to be dead honest with you right now. We have so many people coming in the door. We have about 53,000 customers right now. We're growing our customer service team to meet those needs. Like sadly, we're falling behind a little bit, but right now, as we grow, we'll get to the point where we're delivering on all those service promises. And that's really, when you're thinking about CRM, you've got to have that cohesion. You got to have a cohesiveness between your customer service rep and yourself. So you're learning every time we do a release about the benefits of what the product does. And I think that's where Chime is a leader. We're building stuff today that people will be embracing for years to come.
Stuart, I think one of the important things to point out is where Chime started, right? Chime started as a lead generation company.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And we don't call ourselves that today, right? So it's not something, we have a lead generation department, but the reality of it is we really consider ourselves a conversion engine and long-term follow-up and nurturing tool. And that's why we've chosen to integrate with a bunch of the top lead brands, right? So the Realtor.coms, the Zillows. So you're paying lots of money for those leads. They're coming into the system and they're being nurtured long-term, right? So your ROI on those becomes better. And you might have to look at, 6 years down the road or 7 years down the road. Wow, I got that lead from Zillow in 2016 and it's being nurtured for me. And now they're ready to transact and I've done a good job. And I always use my realtor as an example here. So I bought a home in this home, living in call it 2010. And, we're 12 years in. So I've bought a couple of other properties outside this one and I've done my thing. But that real estate agent never interacted with me whatsoever. I never got an email from him. I never get a text message from him with relevant information about my market or markets that I might be interested in buying a rental property. All I got from him is a calendar every Christmas. I said, "Oh, get it. It's on the wall by our, washing machine." But I'll never do business with that guy again. Right? I'm looking for someone who's going to provide me with the information that I need to make a strong decision, but who's also going to get me, whether I'm selling a home or I'm buying a home, getting me the best price that he can possibly get me. Right? So prices have gone up dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. Well, why? If a home sold in 2019 for $1 million and today they're promoting it for 1.4, that's a huge increase. Why so much value? Why? So Mr. Realtor, I want you to go in there and help me get the best price. And is that 1.32? What is it? Right? Help me understand why I'm paying that much more over a 4-year deal. So that's where the education of the real estate agent and the industry is going to change. And trust me, these young people that are embracing technology and coming into the industry with lots of knowledge and technology knowledge are going to be the ones that come out ahead.
Yeah. So if we use the term customer acquisition cost, the goal is to get the customer acquisition cost as close to zero as possible so that when it comes time to serve that customer, they're literally paying you to serve them.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And I believe that long-term goal of real estate should be get away from commissions, because we're going to get away from it at some point, but into a role where you're like a lawyer or an accountant where you're being paid for your knowledge. We also have to start looking at the industry in a different way. So a lot of the brokers that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of them because I'm the guy that's at a lot of the trade shows and I'm speaking to them live. We used to look at everything as cost per lead, right? How much did you pay for those Zillow leads? So Zillow sends you 10 leads and it costs you $10,000 a year to be part of Zillow. And one of those transacts, what's your cost per transaction? It's $10,000, right? So most brokerage now are looking at that cost per transaction. So if I'm spending X amount with a lead generation tool, or if I'm spending X amount, this is my budget, these are my goals, how am I going to hit them? How much does it cost me per transaction? If I'm buying Zillow, if I'm buying realtor.com, if I'm buying leads from Chime, doesn't matter where they're coming from. But long-term, your system's going to help you build up that cost per transaction, and you're going to be able to identify that super easy. Because it's gathering all that data, you're able to report on it. So, that's probably a little more advanced than most real estates are going to get to. But brokerages absolutely have to start thinking with that kind of mindset, is that, okay, man, it's hard to make money as a brokerage. So what is my cost per transaction for Raymond, moving down the road as a real estate broker working with Remax?
So what do you think on that note, let's segue, let's future pace, right? What do you think the next 3 to 5 years looks like for real estate and real estate technology being adopted in the marketplace?
Yeah, obviously, because I'm a huge technology guy, I believe that technology is going to lead the way. Over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the technology space. You're already seeing that with the CoreLogics, the CoStars, the Lone Wolves buying lots of people, smaller organizations, and building the tech stacks. Now, we have a different view because we build everything internally. So we don't go out and buy smaller companies and merge them in. We build everything from within. We have about 150 developers. And when I think about the next 5 years and I think about our roadmap, AI is massive in that roadmap. But there's other things. A consumer app that's tied to Chime is one of the next things that's going to be released. So the consumer can interact with Chime similar like it would with a Zillow. Very in-depth content, market information. So as an agent, that's going to be part of the benefit. So the consumer is going to be much more heavily focused, as well as the MLSs. So MLSs, you've seen them go from 850 organizations down to 500 organizations because they're merging together to create a better system, not only for the consumer, but for the real estate agent and the real estate community in specific markets. So technology is going to be a huge piece in there. Now, from an industry perspective, you're already seeing a drop in the agent count in North America. It's gone from 1.8 to about 1.6 million over the last literally year. So I think you're going to get a consolidation of a lot of these brokerages are going to come together, driven by technology. A lot of the smaller ones will get taken up by the big ones, and a lot of the big ones, and I'll use a couple of examples like Realogy, Keller Williams, Remax. They've all tried to embrace technology, and I basically say they've all failed, but they need to go work with true technology companies to build a platform that makes a ton of sense for their agents. And if you look at Realogy, they've got 8 different brands, and all those agents are different in those different brands, but they're trying to use one piece of technology, right? They're trying to use MoxieWorks for everybody, and it just doesn't work because they've got luxury people. They've got, a whole pile of different. Century 21 is a completely different animal than some of their other companies. And Keller Williams has, spent $500 million on Command, and they've got, 9% adoption. So people are looking for good technology. They're spending money on good technology. And if even you turn around and you say, we're going to give you it, they're still going to be like, yeah, but it doesn't work. So how does that help me? So I'm going to go spend the $100 on another CRM system because I can afford the $100 and embrace the one that I need to be. But I think what you're going to see is a consolidation between technology and the real estate companies to give the right features and functionality. They're going to help grow over the next 5 years as the consumer becomes even more educated, which is almost hard to say than they are today. They're going to be, and they're going to be going to agents. And if an agent can't answer that question, you're not going to get the listing. So technology will play a massive role. I think you'll see a shift in the average realtor bio, let's call it, younger, more aggressive technology wise. I think a lot of agents that aren't embracing technology will get pushed out of the industry. So my advice is embrace now for long-term success.
I think it's true. I think that it's interesting, right? Because Remax is a great example that acquired all of these different smaller technology and tech companies to bring this tech stack together of products that nobody uses.
That Boosh, the legendary Boosh.
Yeah, 100%.
Now they've gone down the path with KV Core, which is a good choice because you know what? I gotta be honest with you. If I was to say, if you're not going to go with Chime, go with KV Core, because when I think about the brains behind that technology, great, but it's all about adoption. So what are they providing to the agents with that basic KV Core model? Probably not that much. So the agent's going to be looking for more. It's going to be more costly. But, in the meantime, Remax has wasted 7 years on Boosh, and that technology gap has grown, and it's enabled other companies like, let's just say EXP, the Real Broker, to come into the marketplace and be a disruptor and grow their businesses very quickly. EXP's gone from a small organization in 2016 to 90,000 agents today. The Real Broker, which has only been in business really since 2019, has gone from 0 to 10,000 agents under their banner because they have a new financial model. You're not paying for your desk every month. It's more of that pyramid style. So people have an opportunity to have a different source of income. And in the meantime, you've seen the Keller Williams and you've seen the Remaxes fall behind a little bit. And then you've also introduced the iBuyers, right? So iBuyers bring a whole different solution to the problem, let's call it, right? Zillow failed at it, and Open Door hasn't done a great job. But then you've got these new people who are a little bit smarter, and they're embracing the agent, right? So they're saying, hey, let's partner with the agents and let's really drive that business. And the agents are like, wow, you're going to deliver me a listing and it's only going to cost me 30%. I'm in, because otherwise I'm going to struggle to find the 15 people that I need to add to my database every week. So all these things, all these pieces that we've talked about are what's going to happen to the industry over the next 5 years, right? People are telling me now, there's some interesting conversations. Are iBuyers even going to be around in 5 years, right? Because they haven't grown quick enough. They're only holding about 2% of the market. My belief is the opposite. I think they will, as the agent community embraces them a little bit more, and as the average agent starts to struggle more with getting listings, I think you're going to see that iBuyer market grow, but it's going to look a little bit different. Everything's going to shift. Everything's going to change a little bit. And I think companies like Zillow, who will tend to switch to mortgage will play a bigger part of it. A lot of our companies, technology companies, are looking at mortgage, looking at management, different ways to grow a business. But at the same time, we're also thinking about how can we take, for instance, let's take property management. Today, only about 18% of real estate agents dabble in the rental market. But the reality is every rental could be a buyer at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't you? So property management then becomes key. And obviously mortgage is also something else that's very key, right? Mortgages are down crazy low numbers that we haven't seen in a long time, but they're going to turn around at some point. And you need to be ready as an agent or a broker to embrace that. And then you also start thinking outside of the box and saying, you know what, I should dabble in rentals, but yeah, I'm only going to make $200 off that. But long term, I could have that client for life and they could do 4 transactions. So it's a little different thought process than, you might typically get from a technology guy, but I'm starting to understand more about the future of the industry and where I think it needs to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's interesting in our business, my wife and I do things different than most. I have 2 email buckets. One is broadcast. This is what I need to share now. Here's a new restaurant. Here's a new listing. Check out this local community asset or event, whatever. And then there's a nurture bucket. And that nurture bucket isn't real estate related at all. It's all community driven. And the goal is that it's evergreen. So I can just stack emails for years and years and years.
Yeah. And that's a good way of doing it, because ultimately what you're going to do, the way you're running your business, is you're going to grow your brand, right? And your brand is going to become so relevant in your market. That's what people turn to, right? And that's where I believe that agents can distinguish themselves from other agents, right? Being smarter, playing a different game, being incredibly smart about your market and understanding every question that might confront you in a listing appointment. Know the answer so you can actually come across as a competent, smart, different real estate agents. Sometimes we get a bad rap. The industry gets a bad rap for not having the knowledge that we have, for being lazy or being, starting our day at 10 and finishing at 2 and then hitting the golf course. But the reality of it is that's changing. And we are becoming a very, very hardworking industry, because we all understand that the next listing is going to define our year, right? And, you talked about goal setting, before we started. And for me, that's what it's all about. In September, October, as an agent, you should start thinking about what are you going to do next year and how are you going to keep the roof over your head and, move forward. So, how many leads do you need to pull into your CRM system a month? Where are those leads going to come from? Am I going to spend time locally at a business organization? Am I going to spend money on Realtor.com or Zillow? Am I going to find another source, like say a Roopler, who does things a little bit different? Or am I going to look at the iBuyer concept? But the reality is, and I give the number. My number is really small, by the way. When I say you need to put 8 people in your database every week, and where do those 8 people come from? That's a pretty small number if you ask me, right? But if you ask 90% of the agents out there, and I'll be speaking at an event, and I'll say, put your hand up if you can do 8 a week. And, it's probably less than 10% of the people. But ultimately, when you can then say, if I'm driving that, it's going to put that much business in the door, going to allow me I did 25 transactions last year. I'm going to do 35 this year. And that concept is going to let me get there. That's what they should be doing. And that's what I preach in a lot of the talks that I do. And it's not just about how Chime does it and how Chime can help you. It's really about, goal set, put a plan in place that's realistic. If you did 25 listings this year, you're not going to do 100 next year. That's not realistic. But if you say, I can do 10 more, I have the time to do 10 more, set your goals around that. So, I would love to do, another one of these conversations where we talk about goal setting and how someone can, go from X realtor to this realtor and, grow your business and become that market specific expert.
Yeah, we can definitely set that up. I'd enjoy that. Okay. So I want to be conscious of your time.
Sure.
If somebody is on the fence about adopting a CRM, right? Like they're just not doing it. The resistance is there, let's call it. What would you tell them?
That's an easy one. I'm like, if you're not working very closely with a CRM and using 40% of the capabilities minimum, you're going to fall behind your competitors, because I can guarantee you that if you're not doing it, your competitor is. And if they're engaging with a customer within the first 2 minutes and it's taking you 10, or you're not at all, you're going to find yourself in a bad place over the next 3 years, because the market is going to be super competitive and you need all the tools in place to make that a realistic. That's what I would say.
I love it. Stuart, where can people find you and where can people find Chime?
I am a heavy social media guy. So LinkedIn is my preferred platform because it's a business platform, but you can also see me posting regularly on many, many social media sites. I'm a regular contributor to lots of different things, but LinkedIn for sure, but also, go to the Chime website, chime.me if you want any information. Our new website will launch later this year with much more information than it has today. But honestly, if you want to reach out to Raymond and his group, he has my information and I'm happy to answer any questions or get in a call with anybody.
Stuart, thanks for this today, man. This has been awesome. Appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And anytime. Thanks for your time, Raymond.
That was great, man. I loved it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Sjolseth, the #1 do-it-yourself real estate photo app for incredible professional results. Hey guys, it's Ray. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.